I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want. You're the one I trust.
What's it into an area? Keo, Zamora!
And I'll always be around when you need some love and baby. No one else.
Yeah. Put you down. Sing all my melodies, babe.
Hey guys, I'm Sai and welcome to Ace Podcast Nation, the home of the Andy Campbell Championship Show. This is episode number 58. It's Friday, so it's time to talk about the Championship. Only a couple of shows left of the season. The show is available live on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, Periscope. Ace Podcast Nation is also the home to other great shows and series featuring top guests, expert analysis and more. You can check out us on social media. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and links to all are in the description below. Plus, of course, follow the show's Twitter at AC Footy Show on all social media for the latest on new guests and alike, including this Monday show with a certain ex-Everton, Cardiff City and Wales captain, Mr. Kevin Ratcliffe, will be joining us. Of course, a big shout out to Martin Spate and Black Diamond Sports for all their support with the show. Black Diamond Sports is a global sports agency representing sports stars from around the world. For more information, you can visit their social media page. Links in the description and at the end of the show in the closing credits. And another big thank you to Dan Ralston and Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the Andy Campbell shows. And here's just a quick word from them.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my Auntie Louise told Mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if Mummy or Daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, big thanks to Darren Ralston and Bespoke Financial for sponsoring the show. Bespoke Financial specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and of course sports cover. So have a look at their stuff. Links for their website and social media are also in the ending credits and below. So joining me to talk about the Championship, the playoff semi-finals and much, much more is the speed demon, the goal collector, ex-Cardiff City and Middlesbrough striker, Mr. Andy Campbell. How are you, mate? Good
evening, mate. Yeah, very well. Yeah, it's been a strange week. Wasn't the best of endings last night, but a great week of football again. So interesting. It's just the Championship is just the most fascinating league in the world, and just keeps giving more and more. And the playoff semi-finals just didn't disappoint as expected.
No, they did not. It was very, very interesting, which, we'll discuss them leg by leg. Gaz there says this is the second best pod in the UK about to start, with the first one being the Andy Campbell Football Show. What a lovely comment that is.
Bang on.
Can't fault him.
I'll probably argue. I think they're equal.
Yeah.
This is original.
This is the OG.
Yeah, original.
Yeah, obviously disappointing for Cardiff. We'll get into it in a minute. But overall thoughts of Cardiff over the two legs, mate, just briefly.
Didn't disappoint. Left himself a lot to do, but did themselves very proud. Manager couldn't have done any more. Players couldn't give any more. And probably my biggest regret is that the fans weren't there to give them the send off which they deserved, because they put a real shift in last night and all season. So players deserve huge credit. Dust themselves down and go again, because they've proved now that they're good enough. So now they just need to believe in themselves a little bit more and hit next season the way that they finished this season and go for gold. Go for it straight away.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it in a minute. I disagree with some of the stuff you said, but no, they did very well last night. Ultimately, you got to take your chances in the big games, and they didn't. But there we go. Guys, just saying there, Cardiff's first leg let them down, and they were good for about 15-20 minutes of the first leg, but after that they were not great. Their defending particularly was not particularly good. But anyway, we'll discuss both games, both ties, in detail in just a minute. But as usual, we'll start with any other business. And first of all, we have the managerial merry-go-round that is football.
Yeah.
Middlesbrough announced that Neil Warnock is staying on as manager. I will let you give your opinion first.
Now listen, I was so pleased when he came in and sorted the football club out and saved them from relegation, and I was all for him to stay, and I was really excited that when I did hear the rumour that he was going to stay, I was really, really excited for him to stay. The problem I've got is the wording or probably the lack of words in regards to contract and length of contract, because for me, Si, you can't plan or deliver a plan in a year. So it's going to be such a tough process, because if you have a sloppy start, then it's going to be another dead season. I can't afford Middlesbrough Football Club to have another wasted season. They've had a wasted season this season, and they can't afford another one. And I think if Neil Warnock was given a 2-year plan or 3, then he would have been able to implement his certain things and progress over time. And I think it's just going to be difficult to attract the kind of players that he wants or the club wants, because of the short-term appointment that he's got. And my point is that Neil Warnock brings in 4 or 5 players, which is absolutely fantastic. But then a new manager comes in 12 months' time and doesn't fancy 5, 6, 7 of these players that have been brought in. What happens then? You've got to start all over again. And I want a plan. I want a long-term plan, and I want the club to progress over the years. And I see certain other clubs who've Leeds United took their time and then all of a sudden progressed over the years and got the way they wanted to be. And certain other clubs have done it the right way. Brentford have done it. Norwich did it a couple of years ago. And I want that back for my football club. But I don't see it with in the short term, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I seem to have a different opinion, similar to what yours is, but different to a lot of people, what I've seen on social media. Everyone seems quite positive about it. Look, for me, I'll start by saying Neil Warnock, absolute legend at Cardiff City. When he came into Cardiff, he saved the club. They were heading only one way, and that was towards the relegation zone. He saved us, not just saved us, he got us together, got the team playing, got the fans united behind the team, and he got them up. However, in my opinion, it's interesting, someone just put in the comments that he should have retired last summer. I agree with that. I think he should have retired last summer, because I think he unfortunately did more damage to Cardiff City this year, which is going to take a bit of time to sort out. I felt quite sorry for Neil Harris in that. And similar with Middlesbrough now. Like you say, he'll bring in probably, at least I would have thought 4, maybe 5 players in the summer. The maximum Neil Warnock is going to stay at Middlesbrough is 2 years, I would say. I think that's probably a fair assumption. and a new manager comes in, the likelihood is, because what you get is when you get these managers who play a certain way, after a couple of years, the fans get fed up, the owners and the chief executives get fed up, so they bring in a manager who they want to play football a certain way. They want it to be a bit more aesthetically pleasing. So those players which Neil Warnock brings in likely won't fit that aesthetic, which creates a big problem then, because you've not only got to get rid of 4 or 5 players because they don't fit what the new manager wants, but equally you've also got to buy players to get them in. And I think that's where Cardiff struggled this year, to be honest, is that they didn't have the players to play the way Neil Harris wanted. So I would have, if I was a Middlesbrough fan, I would have preferred to have a younger manager come in and maybe have Warnock working above him.
Well, that's what I would have liked all along. You know, I've done a couple of interviews over the last couple of days, and I spoke quite freely about a director of football, and I think he would have been absolutely perfect. I think it would have taken the pressure off him, and it would have been absolutely great, you know. But it wasn't meant to be, you know. He's come in as manager, you know what I mean. He set his stall out. He's given the chairman a number of players. He signed his first player today in Grant Hall, and listen. The proof's in the pudding, so we're just going to have to see how he's done. Obviously, I think Grant was at QPR last season, and we're just going to have to see. I think the signings that Middlesbrough used to make years and years ago of big signings on big money, those days are well gone, and people and fans like myself have to sometimes just suck it up and get on with it and just see the progression. And I'm all for progression. I want them to do well. I'm desperate for them to do well, but I just don't want them to go backwards a little bit. And you know, and I'm in a similar mould that I think Neil took this job on because of how Cardiff City ended. You know, I feel as though he wanted to go off on a high, and for me, this would have been his high. This would have been his high, and if he gets Middlesbrough in the Premier League next year, he's going to want to stay because you don't want to see it through. And like you said, you don't want him to probably carry on as long as he probably did at Cardiff with the way that things ended at Cardiff City, unfortunately. Yeah,
I think he just stayed that one season too long at Cardiff. It's only my opinion. You know, people are obviously entitled to their own opinion on that. Gaz says, which young manager though would you have preferred to have?
I think there's various. And Chris has been touted around a few times, and there's also ex-players who are starting to come out of the game with good qualifications. And listen, I was all for Jonathan Woodgate to get the job, and I was all for him to do well, but he needed help and guidance, and that's where I think he got let down a little bit. And you know what I mean? If he'd have had a Neil Warnock above him, then I think he would have done absolutely fantastic, and I think that's the biggest shame for me.
The one thing which kind of confuses me a little bit about Boro's decision is obviously they brought in Woodgate because they wanted to play a certain way, but also have a young, you know, manager, a hometown lad. Great. We discussed at the start of the season many times about it's important they give him time. They had to give him time, you know, and eventually they succumbed and they didn't give him enough time probably for him to build something. I get why, because they could have been going down if they had kept him. I understand that completely. However, you've got to pick, haven't you, which way you want to go, and you've got to see it through. And that's my bone to pick with Cardiff, with Boro, and a couple of other teams. Is if you want to go one way and then it's playing football a certain way, that's fine, but you've got to stick with it. You've got to stick with your manager. If the manager's struggling, don't just sack him. Bring in a Neil Warnock above him. Why didn't they do that instead of sacking Woodgate? Why didn't they bring Warnock in above him?
But I can go back to, I think it was 2000 at Middlesbrough, and Brian Robson was having a really tough time. We were struggling with results, and we brought in Terry Venables to be, I'd say, director of football, but he came in to advise, he came in to help, he came in to tweak and tinker things, and he kept us up. He did an absolutely fantastic job to Terry. His tactical awareness and his abilities and skills around the training ground and on a match day were second to none. And I think sometimes it's not a cry for help. It's just to help the football club and push the club in the right direction. And I think sometimes you don't have to be embarrassed to accept that kind of help.
Yes. The other managerial sort of things going on is you've got Birmingham. I think the set to, they might have announced him now that Karanka is taking over. Would you have taken him as as Borough manager?
No, I don't think you go back. Listen, he had amazing success at Middlesbrough. He did an absolutely cracking job. He did exactly what we wanted and more. But I don't think you need to return or should return to your old club, because the squad is different. You know what I mean? The football club's different. Everything is different when he left it. So for me, it was a decision for him to go and find the right football club. He's been linked with Birmingham City for a while. He's been linked with Bristol City for a while. I know he was linked in the States and back in his homeland Spain. So I'm pleased he's got a job or getting a job. It'll be nice to see how he does. But I think it's a big job for him, because I don't think he's going to get things the way that he expects, and the players that he's working with. I don't think it'll be as good as the players that he had when he was with his time at Middlesbrough.
No. Gaz says, please take David Moyes. Also, Bristol seem to be on the brink of naming a new manager. Looks like, well, the bookies' favourite is Alex Neil, who's the current Preston manager, which is interesting.
Yeah, he's done a great job though, Sian. He's had a great season.
Really
on limited resources, but are Bristol City going to spend a similar amount this season as they did last year? Because if they haven't got that kind of budget again, Alex Neil, I think he'll do a cracking job and spend it in the right way, because he'll potentially bring a couple of the big hitters from Preston North End who had amazing seasons, and Bristol City could be a force to be reckoned with if they do bring in a kind of manager like that.
I think it's safe to say they've got a bit of cash again, because they tried to get Steven Gerrard from Rangers, which wouldn't have been cheap on all fronts, but he turned them down. Look, do I think Alex Neil's done a fantastic job at Preston North End? Absolutely, I think he's done an excellent job. Do I think he's the right fit for Bristol City? I'm not entirely sure. If I owned a football club in Bristol's ilk who've got money, I don't know whether he'd be the guy I'd want to give 20 million to in the summer. But it's just my opinion again.
Yeah.
Personally, I think if Wickham hadn't got promoted, I think you'd have seen more clubs looking at Gareth Ainsworth, because he's got such a fantastic reputation already as a manager and a coach. But obviously with Wickham going up, it's unlikely that he'd go to a different championship club, for instance. But I think if they had just missed out, he would have had a few offers from championship clubs. I'm surprised Chris Hughton hasn't been more heavily linked with that Bristol job, because he is the sort of manager who you could give a few quid to.
Any job. I'm a little bit concerned about why he hasn't got a job, or is he still? Was his last job?
Fall out.
Was his last job? Was it Brighton Hove Albion?
Brighton was after Newcastle, wasn't it?
So Brighton job. Is he still getting paid by Brighton? Is that why he's not jumping in a club? Can he not? Is he not allowed? We just things over the contract and with the sacking. Sometimes you're not allowed. If you're getting put on garden leave, you're not allowed to take another job for a certain amount of time. Because he, for me, is a top manager. And why any club isn't throwing? Why isn't somebody throwing money at him and throwing a contract at him? Because he's a cracking manager, and he's done well wherever he's gone.
Yeah, he's won manager of the month several times in the Premier League and the Championship.
Yeah,
he's won the manager of the year in the Football League a couple of times. He's an absolute superb coach. You could argue that he was interim manager at Spurs. He was manager at Newcastle, interim manager at Newcastle. He's been at Birmingham, Norwich, Brighton. He's had a mixed bag.
Yeah.
But every time he's had a long period where he's settled. So his win percentage at Spurs, where he played like just 6 games as interim manager for that one season, 98. He had a 50% win average. When he was at Newcastle from 2009 June to December 2010, he had a win average of 55%. Birmingham, he was there for a year, 41%. Norwich, 29%. He was there for a couple of years. Brighton, 5 years he was there, 40% win rate with Brighton in the Premier League. I think that's.
I think he did a great.
He
did a great job at Brighton, and for me, I think that was a really tough job because in the Premier League, limited resources. That not now that like signing Adam Lallana on big money. He didn't have those kind of resources. So for me, he did an amazing job, and he's think that boat's well sailed, James. To be honest, well sailed. Me and Dave Jones, dream team.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's the one. Next bit of any other business. Very interesting comments from Wigan Athletics captain over the last couple of days, Sam Morsey. He said the Wigan owners should have never been allowed to take over Wigan Athletic, which is particularly interesting. We had a bit of a chat with David Cottrell on Monday, and he mentioned about managers which are owners who are unfit for purpose, and the EFL, the Premier League, not doing their job as their fit and proper test. Is not worth the paper it's written on, really, is it?
He's absolutely bang on. Well, David Cottrell, first of all, is absolutely bang on, by the way, because how anybody can get hold of a football club and not run it in the right way and the checks be done is disgusting. That's first and foremost. Am I surprised that the captain's come out and said it? No, I'm not actually. I think it's he's speaking from the heart. He's speaking on behalf of all the players. That he's obviously concerned about his livelihood. He's concerned about his own contract. He's concerned about his own move. Next move, is he staying? Is he going? And you can't blame him. That I remember the tough times at Cardiff that we went quite a few months without getting paid. The PFA were involved, and it's not just the players. And I saw that firsthand because I had the kitman Ian Lanning living with me for about 3-4 months because he couldn't afford to drive up and down from Bath every day. Couldn't put petrol in his car. He couldn't afford his rent, and it's heartbreaking, because these kind of people love to work for the football clubs, but it's just they just can't carry on living because it's just not a real it's not the real world, and I do really feel sorry. And obviously the captain there is coming out and speaking for everybody at the football club, and for me, the quicker that football club can get turned round, the quicker the decision can get made. Let's start with that one. The decision needs to be made so that everybody knows, the Championship knows what they're looking at, and the fixtures can get sorted out. Wigan themselves can plan for next season, selling, buying, releasing, sorting the debts out. The manager, you know what I mean? Because, listen, Paul Cook, he's done a very good job, by the way, and he must have, and his hands must have been tied this season. I feel really sorry for him, and I'd love to have a good chat with him about how he felt, how he got his players motivated towards the end of the season, because it must have been difficult. But ultimately, they've got to go down. They have to go down because rules are rules, and COVID-19 is not an excuse to go into administration. Sorry, because every man in his dog, team, fan, everyone will do it for the club.
Yeah, 100%, mate. You mentioned Cook. Obviously, stood down as manager. He looked like he was fed up of it all by the end, I got to say. Were you surprised that he did step down after everything he's been through over the last few months?
No, because listen, it's sometimes there's a poison chalice, and I look at a football club, and I look at that football club, especially that he's had the wrong owners since he's took over. They're then going to get taken over by somebody else. Is that going to be better? Is it going to be worse? You know what I mean? Who knows? Time will tell. You know what I mean? The grass isn't always greener. I know that, but at the same time, he will go into a good job because of the job he's done at Wigan, and people will respect him for walking away with his head held high, because he did keep Wigan Athletic in the league. He did. You know what I mean? Yes. You know what I mean? He did a very good job. The league will decide, I believe, in the hopefully next few days, surely, or next week, that Wigan will go down, because they have to go down due to the rules. And let's be honest, they could have stayed up. If they'd beat Fulham last game of the season, they would have stayed up, and that would have been an unbelievable achievement. Unbelievable.
Don't get me started on that. The way they played in that game was ridiculous. Sitting back, playing for a draw, when you know that a win will guarantee you to stay up and you'll get your points deducted, and that out of the way, I think is ludicrous.
But expecting Barnsley to lose, though.
As much praise as Cook deserves for the job, I think he did a fantastic job under tremendous pressure. tactics down to him on the day.
Yeah.
And it's up to him to set up and go about his business.
Yeah.
They did expect Barnsley to win. Johnny says that Cook looked broken in the end, which you mentioned the appeal. Obviously, what will cause absolute mayhem is it seems like it couldn't happen, but you just don't know, do you? Especially with the EFL, the way they've handled everything.
Anything could happen.
If Wigan win their appeal, it's going to cause all sorts of terrible trouble.
Well, it's going to cause problems because Barnsley will go to the Court of Arbitration, I believe, because that's the football or sport court about wrongdoings, and then you will see probably every single League 2, League 1 club
have their say,
and they will also all go in administration, because why would how can a League 2 or League 1 or the Championship club get punished if they haven't? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just opening the can of worms. And to be fair, we both said it quite openly on here. Why did they wait, and why are they waiting now? Why didn't they make a decision before the last game of the season so everybody knew exactly what to do? It's just madness.
Doesn't make any sense, mate, does it? At all? Let's be honest.
But then neither does the EFL not playing League 2 and League 1. So listen, I'm not surprised.
No, indeed. And then lastly, we have Premier League clubs circling. You taking a summer break with this? My wife asks.
I know. I shouldn't check these comments.
Well,
we'll put it to a vote, Beck. We'll put it to a vote. So if you agree with Becky, we should take a break. Then you tell us. If Becky should pipe down, then you tell us also. So I'm happy with either.
Yeah. Thanks for that, mate. And finally, we got Premier League clubs circling the Championship players. There's also, so we got Eze of QPR being linked to West Ham. He was previously linked with Spurs in January. United were linked to him, I think, in the summer last year.
He's very good, though, size. He's
very good. Do you think he goes in this summer?
100%. And I think he'd be stupid not to. Listen, I think he'll leave. Will he go to the Premier League? I think he probably deserves to. Or will he go to a team who's come down from the Premier League in order to go back up? You know what I mean? For me, he's got to have aspirations of going to the Premier League. And will he ever play for the Premier League? Will he ever play in the Premier League for QPR? No.
For him specifically, I think if Premier League clubs in, then go. If it's a Championship club, then no. I just think just stay at QPR until a Premier League club comes. Keep playing week in, week out. Keep scoring goals. Because eventually a Premier League club will come. If they don't come in this break, they'll come in January. I just don't see the point in moving sideways for him at the age he's at.
No. And listen, and as well, Sam, we spoke about how important it is to play football. And at the minute, he's playing 50 games a season, and he's playing well, scoring goals, putting himself in the shop window. He needs to continue that. There's no point. I'll use Jared Bourne as an example. So Jared Bourne's obviously signed for West Ham. Obviously, our West Ham followers will tell us how he's been. But I have noticed that he's been in and out of the side. He hasn't played regular football, whereas when he was at Hull, he was playing every minute of every single game, scoring goals and ripping it up. And sometimes it's about making sure that next step is the correct step and the right move.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, he's one of the big players in that team. So that's the other thing, isn't it? It's like, do you want to go and be a bit part player at the end of the day? Who else we got? We got Danny Loader is an interesting one. He's leaving Reading on free by the looks of it. He's out of contract. He's been linked to Wolves. He's been linked to Leeds. Been linked to Palace. But he's also been linked to FC Porto. I think he's 18, 17, 18. Very young man. But he's done he's been one of the shining lights for Reading. Where would you see him going?
I can't hear you, Si. Have you gone mute? I can't hear you.
I'm still there. Can you not hear me at all? Right, okay. I'm going to go out and then carry on.
Go out and come in. Oh, you're going out and coming in. If anyone's got any questions, throw them in, because I'd say we're going to talk about Cardiff City. We're going to talk about Swansea City. We're going to talk about... Yeah, that's better. We're going to talk about the playoffs, which has been exciting during the last last week, couple of days especially.
Okay, sorry about that, mate. I don't quite
That's
know
all
what
right.
happened to that. So, did you hear me say about Danny Loader?
No.
Right, so Danny Loader is leaving Reading on a free. He's not signing a new contract. He's 17, 18 years old. He's been linked to Wolves, to Leeds, to Palace, but he's also been linked to FC Porto. He's been one of the shining lights for Reading this year, been one of the better players, something positive to come out of the season. He's a young man. Where do you see him going?
If he's got his head screwed on properly and he's got the right people around him, the right people advising him, then FC Porto would be an absolutely ideal move, because you look at Jude Bellingham, lifestyle, amazing. Football, very good. Champions League, Europa League, the chances are endless. Championship, he could be a league winner. He'd play a lot of football. He'd become technically better. So I think for me, it ticks all the boxes. Same as Jude Bellingham, and I would like to think that looking at people like Jude and looking at people like Jadon Sancho and looking at other people who've gone to other countries, Gareth Bale, etc., that moving to another country now doesn't scare a British player anymore.
Yeah, gamble on yourself. I'd like to see him go to Porto or Wolves, although I wouldn't be disappointed if he was to go to Leeds, but I think Leeds are going to spend some cash this summer. So how much is he going to play? You go to Porto for different reasons, I suppose, rather than necessarily playing week in, week out to start. You kind of gamble on yourself long term. You experience a different country, etc., etc., and you get some sunshine as well. Wolves, I think they play young players a lot. They play football a certain way, which I think would fit the way he likes to play. And we got Alan Brown of Preston again. One of the shining lights of the Preston squad this year, being linked to Newcastle and Norwich.
This is a good thing about players who finished just under the playoffs, who've got an opportunity to progress onto better teams, who deserve that opportunity from having good seasons, and these kind of players who don't get forgotten about, because Preston had an amazing season, but then just didn't finish the way that they wanted to and just missed out in the playoffs. So it's nice for the better players, or the so-called better players, and to get an opportunity to play higher in the Championship or higher in the Premier League, because they're obviously very talented, the Preston group, and obviously the manager's getting recognition, the players are getting recognition, so it's all good for them. So I'm really pleased that they're getting an opportunity.
So he interests me a lot. He's an Irish international. He's played for Ireland 19s, 21s, first team. He's central midfielder. He's young. He's only 25, so he's got a good year. He's in the peak of his career. He's been linked with Newcastle and Norwich. I wouldn't be disappointed if he was linked to Cardiff City, if he was going to stay in the Championship. I think he'd be a good fit for what they need. However, I think, when you look at it from his point of view, a Newcastle would be a good move for him, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be, and I think with the takeover not happening at Newcastle now, he'll obviously go in, for me, he'll probably go straight into the team and play. So he's got a better opportunity there now to go and play. And listen, it would have been great for the Premier League for Newcastle to get this takeover, but for me, it's the level that they're working at, and the level at the minute they probably deserve. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over it.
No. George Byers of a certain team down west had an exceptional season.
Yeah, excellent. Listen to
not just Newcastle.
Not just him as well. I think one thing over the last two games especially is some of their players have come out with even more glory than I think I should have given them credit for, and I think Brewster's really impressed me. I know he's only on loan, but it'd be interesting to see how Swansea go around and fit the hole which is going to be left by him, unless they take him again, because players like him don't come around very often, and he had a really good partnership with AU. Will they be able to keep him? Because apparently he's on big money. So listen, it's going to be swings and roundabouts in the Championship. Obviously, we've got the money situation with obviously the obviously teams who've lost a lot of money. So will the league be as strong? I believe it will, but will teams go and spend the same amount of cash? Let's see.
Indeed. Breaking news, mate. Sheffield Wednesday will start next season with 12 points deducted.
Is that for the money like irregularities? Is that what that's for? Financial irregularities.
Breaking spending rules.
Yeah.
Interesting that they get 12 points deducted for breaking spending rules, whilst Man City had their ban lifted.
But then also Derby County can. But then Derby County can also go and buy Wayne Rooney and they're not overspending. Listen,
well, that's because it was funded by that betting company, isn't it?
Well, so there's ways around different things, and if Sheffield Wednesdays have got anything about them, they'll appeal it, and the appeal will probably last for 3 seasons, like Wigan has, and it'll just drag on. It'll drag on.
Ridiculous, mate. I feel for Sheffield Wednesday though because they finished the season poorly, and that is just like another.
Could be the final nail in the coffin, couldn't it? Yeah.
Kicking the nuts. And finally, Saeed Benrahma has been linked to just about everybody in the world.
Rightly so.
Leicester, Villa. I saw a link to Wolves, a couple of Spanish teams. Look, boy's been sensational. Brentford have to go up if they want to keep him, I think.
They do. I do believe that, but I still think they'll have a fight on their hands to keep him because he has been that good. He's been absolutely outstanding. And I watched the second leg the other night, and he was just unplayable. Every time he got the ball, he was positive, taking people on, having shots. He's got everything. He's got the whole package, and he would fit the Premier League like a glove. And I'm really excited to watch him play. And you said Wolves there, and I could just see him on one side and Adama Traore on the other, and just pure pace, attacking prowess, and then it would be outstanding, absolutely outstanding.
Yeah. All right, just before we move on to the playoff semi-finals, question from Delos there. He wants why not this season like Wigan doesn't get it. No, I'll leave that one to you, mate. You probably know better than me.
Why not this season?
For Sheffield Wednesday's point deduction.
I think it's a grey area, isn't it? You know what I mean? So going into administration means that your points deducted straight away. They've broken rules, so you know what I mean. I think they'll probably affect them next season.
Just to interrupt you, mate. There, sorry, I was just reading about it. If they had the point deduction this year, they'd have been relegated bottom of the championship.
But they're really
So that is see that if I was Wigan, I'd not be happy. I know it's a different charge, but so the EFL in their statement have said the Sheffield Wednesday were not guilty of breaching its duty of utmost good faith to the EFL by deliberately concealing information. Well, they breach rules, but they're not guilty of doing it on purpose, basically, or not guilty of concealing the information purposely.
Well, when I heard
the EFL clear as mud.
When I heard about the charge, they were talking 30 points. So I think Sheffield Wednesday have done really well to have it down to 12 and to only get 12 because you've 4 wins. 4 wins can be achieved very quickly in a good solid month. So they'll be happy with the outcome because if they brought the rules, regardless if they knew it or didn't know it, they brought the rules, they accept the punishment, and they start next season minus 12s, but they can still get out of the trouble. Whereas this season, it would punish them twice, I believe, and it would be, you know what I mean, they get relegated. Because if they didn't know about it, then that's probably why that things are being passed on to next season. I think that's the only grey area that the wording can.
If you're Wigan and you're writing up your appeal last couple of days, you've been writing it away, why you shouldn't have these points deducted, surely you're going to bring that up. You're going to try and use it, aren't you? And hang on a minute.
Well, potentially, but I think.
I know they're different.
I think in a court, in a court, if you're starting to look at other teams, then you're looking even more guilty. So I think if Wigan can prove that they haven't done it intentionally, then they might get a reprieve. And they might get the points deducted again next season. So we could see Wigan and Sheffield Wednesday both in the bottom 3 for the first month of the season, or first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, spot on. Rye said Rooney to Derby County was a free transfer. So with that, what we're referring to is the fact that Wayne Rooney earns north of 200 grand a week. Derby County cannot afford that. But the betting
on
company,
FIFA,
which was
yeah.
emblazoned all over the place when he was announced, and his number and all this branding that they did when they announced it, it was very clear that I forget what the betting company was. Was it 888 Sport?
32. Bet
Sport,
Red 32.
that's it.
Yeah.
And he's number 32 as well this season,
Yeah.
isn't he? Never been
Yeah.
number 32 in his life before.
No.
I'm sure it's just a coincidence, though.
Oh yeah, listen. It's about as clear as the weather in Derby. So let's be honest with that one. It's
Don't start me on the snow, mate. Come on now. Okay, the playoff semi-finals have been played. We're going to start with the. I nearly said a word that I shouldn't say. The people down west playing Brentford City. Brentford City. Who
Are they new?
Brentford City. Swansea City 1, Brentford City 0 was the first leg result. A shock by
Brentford
the
City.
underdogs.
You did it again. You just said it again. Brentford City.
Yeah, I'm going to keep saying it now. I'm going to create this one. It's my FIFA team.
Upset, yes.
Of course, it's an upset. Swansea won.
Upset, yes. So obviously, Swansea missed a penalty, which probably deserved. They probably did. You know what? They played all right. They probably should have gone ahead with that penalty, but obviously missed it. But then the controversy came with the red card for me and Henry getting sent off. Tough tackle, yes. Not a penalty, not a red card. You know what I mean? If you're getting sent off for that, then the tackles which I saw on what day are we on today? Friday. So what I saw on Wednesday night, there should have been about 7 or 8 people sent off with some of the tackles that I saw because they're hard and fair. You know what I mean? For me, it's a yellow card, and that's it. And at most, so for me, I think that they probably deserve to go into the second leg 1-0 up, but I think it's the best thing what happened to Brentford because it gave Brentford the massive shock to the system, and it made them play. Well, they didn't even play well. They were absolutely outstanding for, especially the first half. Until Janssen gave him. I know we're going to go on another time. Until Janssen just gave him a chance. That's all he did. He gave him a chance.
Yeah, look, I thought Swansea were very, very good in the first leg. Never sending off was ridiculous. Brentford looked, I said last week, which is why I went for Swansea, I think, in the end, was that Brentford looked mentally shot. It looked like it had really kind of taken it out of them, missing out on, when it was in their own hands, missing out on the automatics, etc., etc. I thought Swansea did very well. I thought Roberts for Swansea, what a player, mate. Really impressed me this year.
Excellent.
And Rhian Brewster being one of the highlights of the championship.
For me, he's led the line very well. He's neat and tidy. He gets in good areas. He's very dangerous. He runs in behind, and well, it doesn't surprise me. But I think for the player, from the player's point of view, does he want to test himself in the Premier League? Does he want to show Liverpool that he can do it at that kind of level and go to a Leeds or go to a team, a Villa? You know what I mean? Because
Leeds would be a good fit for him, mate. I think.
Yeah, well, I do believe so. Yeah,
players.
I do believe so.
I can't wait to watch Glick try himself against some of these big boys. It's going to be
it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I thought Brentford poor first leg. That missed penalties cost Swansea in the end.
In the end, yeah, I think it has. But I think it was a shock to the system. I think obviously the manager losing 3 games on the bounce for Brentford has probably been the best thing in the end. Listen, if they turn up on when's the playoff finals? It's Sunday. Yeah. Is it Sunday or Tuesday? Whenever it is. Sunday. If they turn up to the performance levels that they did in the first half on Wednesday, they'll blow Fulham out the water because from what I saw,
like they did on Saturday, Fulham will destroy them as well. So
yeah, but I think the nerves got to Fulham yesterday, and
we'll discuss.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about that.
Don't jump ahead now. Don't jump.
No, I'm not going to jump ahead. But I think Brentford's attacking prowess, the way that they break, the football that they play. For me, the weak link is Janssen. I thought the mistake what he made was just absolutely shocking, and for a player of his ability, because he's very good, he's gone there on huge money. To try and flick the ball away in a playoff semi-final is just idiotic, really, isn't it? And listen, I can't. I did laugh out loud, and I was giggling at what he did. But if I was his manager, I wouldn't be happy because if that had cost my team getting to Wembley, getting to the Premier League, yeah, it's just unforgivable.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, I don't know what he was playing at, mate. So second leg was Brentford 3, Swansea 1. They blew him out of the water, like you said, in the first half. Ollie Watkins, oof, what a player.
He's outstanding.
We'll be discussing him a bit later.
Outstanding. But Henry for me, Si, you know what I mean? Because obviously the red
one
card
of the unsung heroes of the season, mate.
But the red card got overturned, so he obviously was allowed to play in the second leg. So it was a good thing for Brentford, and just showed how much he makes Brentford tick. He wins the ball back, he gets them moving, he's involved in every kind of attack. Gets the ball off the back three, back four, gets the ball off the goalkeeper, plays balls left, right, centre. His passing range was just outstanding, and obviously the final game at Griffin Park, which is obviously was going to be emotional, but they've got themselves at Wembley, and thoroughly deserved as well. By the way, thoroughly deserved over the course of the season. I'm disappointed they didn't go up. So
I thought Swansea looked shell shocked, and the early first goal I think is what did it for Swansea. It just really took the wind out of their sails, and just set them up to and then to concede a second straight away was like that was it. They're mentally shot in terms of game management. But
before the first goal,
they scored that
excellent.
goal, and when Swansea scored, they did. They didn't play that badly. I didn't think Swansea. I just thought Brentford were that good in the first half. Again, Roberts, superb.
Yeah, I think you've got to give credit where you've got to give credit where credit's
as well
due.
Is another one I think I've been quite impressed with.
Yeah, I totally agree. You've got to give credit where credit's due. I don't think Swansea started too bad. I thought they started the game really well, but then the first goal went in. They didn't compose themselves to give away the second goal. Didn't compose themselves. Got in at half time, and you know what I mean. The last thing that the manager would have said, walking out of that door, would have been, stay in the game for the first 5 or 10 minutes. And what did they do? But 38 seconds, they go 3-0 down, and you're just not giving yourself an opportunity. And you know what I mean. The start of the first half not great. The start of the second half not great, and all of a sudden you find yourself out. But credit where credit's due for Swansea. They did themselves proud. They've achieved more than I ever thought they would have on what they've done this season. And that's not me being disrespectful and derogatory, by the way. I think if they'd have gone up,
Swansea punched above their weight.
If Swansea had gone up this year, they wouldn't have been able to compete. So I think it's right that they progress next year and give it all again and see where they can end up, because they're a very good side, but the recruitment's even more important this year than it was last year.
100%, mate. I got a question for you and the people watching at home. Is Kyle Norton overrated? Because in my opinion, he is massively overrated. Every time I've watched him this year, I can't believe that he used to play for Spurs.
Well, he played for Spurs. He played for Sheffield United. I've always known him as a fullback, though. So when he's played fullback, because it was him and Kyle Walker coming through. Him and Kyle Walker were at Sheffield United. Kyle Walker went to Man City. Norton went to Spurs, and he went there as a left and right back. And now he's playing centre half of a three. He's getting a little bit older, a little bit more experienced. But for me, he's not a centre half, and I think he gets bullied a little bit. I think he gets caught out of position, and I think some of the goals we're seeing the gap because of his positioning, and unfortunately, he's got to play a part of some of the goals that we've given away.
Well, what you find is, so like when Gary Neville used to play centre back for United the odd time, when Luke Shaw has played centre back for United in a three, and when Carl Norton's played centre back for Swansea, is they get lost positionally because they spend so much of their career hugging the touchline or tucking in and doing certain things. And I just think that they sometimes struggle. Not all, but sometimes they struggle when they go into that central position positionally, and I think Kyle Norton has struggled a little bit. So yeah, Brentford make the final, and I really, really hope that they go through, not just for the likes of like Reece Weston and people, but also I just think Brentford. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching Brentford all season.
Everything's in place, Si, with the new ground coming. Everything couldn't be in a perfect position for Brentford moving forward. So everything is ready for them to move forward as a football club.
Indeed. Okay, so the first leg on Monday. During the show, wasn't it? Cardiff City were excellent for 15 minutes, and then they forgot how to defend. I thought Mr. Harris got his team wrong in the first leg. I thought he got his tactics wrong in the first leg. We'll discuss the second leg separately, obviously, but I thought Fulham were very, very good, particularly on the break and going forward. It's a shame Cardiff couldn't keep the level that they had in that little spell up, but yeah.
I think so. You just hit the nail on the head there about the defending, and unfortunately, too many times this season, Cardiff have let in some really, really sloppy goals, and goals which are unlike goals which Cardiff have given away over the last few years. You know what I mean? They've based themselves on being strong at set pieces, not giving silly free kicks away. I'm not going to whinge here and complain, but I did think the referee was very poor. Yeah. I thought the second free kick was outrageous.
Oh God, it was.
You know what I mean? It's not a foul. It's not a foul. But if that's a foul, then there's loads of other fouls on the game. But I'm just nitpicking, and I'm not using it as an excuse.
First goal in, mate, you've got no one to blame.
No, I totally agree. And listen, you can't give goals. You can't give goals away, and it's time in a goal side, because for me, you look at the second goal. Yes, it's from a set piece, but at the same time, you've got to see the game out. A 1-0 defeat, you're still in the game. A 2-0 defeat, you're chasing massively, and unfortunately, they didn't give themselves an opportunity because Fulham just did enough in the first game to get the 2-0 lead, which just it's hard to claw back. A 2-0 lead, you know what I mean, would have been so hard
as well.
Especially with the games being that close together as well, though, because it's not like you can get it out of your system. You've got 10 days before the next game. You're into the next game a couple of days later, and psychologically, it must have been so hard for the Cardiff City players to turn it around very quickly, and but didn't seem to do them any harm, to be honest.
Yeah, Cardiff didn't create barely anything in that first leg going forward, really.
Well, not in the second half, which I was surprised. I think first half they had a good couple of chances, but they have got to take the chances. They got in good areas, but didn't really penetrate the goal. But second half, they didn't create anything, and they didn't get anything going, and I think that's what disappointed me the most. That you had probably a main opportunity to get the lead or to take something into the game, and unfortunately they didn't do it.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I got to say, I thought there's a few players in the Fulham side who I'm a big fan of, but that Cabano, I think, has been outstanding this year. So good, mate.
Outstanding.
Young as well, mate, isn't he?
Yeah. Some of the young players that Scotty Parker's got, and the way that Scott tries to get him to play, and how composed he is as a manager. I think the future's bright for Fulham if they don't go up.
Yeah. Oh, 100%, mate. Fulham will be right up there next year if they don't go up. Second leg, Cardiff, they needed an early goal really badly. And for everything which I thought Harris got wrong in the first leg, I thought he corrected in that second leg, other than Bakuna played at right back. Please stop doing that. Question for Cardiff City fans and yourself. Does Marlon Pack have something on the managers that means that he cannot be dropped from the starting lineup?
I do think he brings...
He brings nothing that Volks couldn't do.
I think. Listen, I think for me the biggest shock was putting Bakuna right back, because for me, yes, he's not a right back, but he would have had a bigger impact playing centre midfield, and that's the biggest issue. And for me, he could have put Marlon Pack right back. Would have given him a little bit more height, a little bit more aggression, with the balls getting pumped forward, and it would have been
a right back.
He has been a right back, but he's made a couple of errors, hasn't he, towards the end of the season? So.
Right back used to be.
Well, no, for me now he's more of an attacking threat and attacking player. I would, you know what I mean? I think we still would have sat here for me complaining that why has he done that? Why has he made that kind of decision for me? So for me, I think he second leg he got his tactics spot on.
Oh no, he's gone.
He's gone. For me, he got his tactics spot on second leg. I thought they were outstanding for long periods. They missed chances, yes they did. I thought Fulham were diabolical. I'll be honest, I thought
their attitude was terrible, mate. Yeah, pretty large portions of the game, especially defensively.
Very negative, and I was really surprised. And I don't know if anybody's seen Scott Parker's interview after the game. I thought he was very relieved. He knew he got away with one. And Neil Harris was very frustrated and upset, and it just shows how the fine margins, because you look at Glatzel's volley at the end, you know what I mean, that goes in, it's it's just delirious, and Cardiff
So-
go on and win that game. But
So with the Glatzel one, mate, that's I almost don't even count as a chance. Like if it goes in, it's a worldie. It's a half chance. But Cardiff City had chances during the game, and they didn't take them. And without Lee Tomlin, we do lack creativity outside of chucking it up in the box.
yeah,
I'm a big Junior Hoylett fan, but I've watched the last few games in full, and I'm struggling to see why he's getting in front of a Mendes Lang or previously Murphy. Obviously Murphy's back in the side, and I saw a few people criticising him yesterday on social media. I thought he did quite well in the first half.
Yeah.
He gives him some pace. He tries to beat a man, put in some good crosses, but the people weren't getting on the end of it. White hasn't really been given a chance, and I just look at Hoylett, and I understand he works hard, and he's got some qualities. We're not as reliant on him from set pieces anymore because we've got Volks and Rawls taking free kicks and stuff.
Yeah.
I struggle to see why he's still first choice, but can't fault his work rate and his attitude. I thought Cardiff was excellent last
I'd like to see Cardiff City play two up front. I really would.
Yeah.
I think I think it'll give them the way they play with wingers. It'll give them more
Glatzel's
opportunities in
made
the
for it,
box.
mate, as
Yeah,
well.
well he is, and listen, I'd love to play up front with somebody like him because he's good in the air. He puts himself about. He must be a dream to play with, but it must be frustrating for him at the same time that if he wins a flick on or gets hold of the ball, he hasn't got a lot of support close around him, and listen, they've got wingers, abundance of wingers. Murphy, Mendes, Lang, White. Obviously Lee got injured yesterday, so obviously it would have been heartbreaking for him if they had got the final and not being able to play, because obviously with the quick turnaround, it would have been impossible for him to be fit. But
I'll ask you about Lee Tomlin in a minute.
but I think,
finish
but then look at Fulham. I look at Fulham as well. Obviously, they missed Mitrovic, for me, one of the best players in the league. Unfortunately, missed out with a hamstring injury. Will he be fit for the playoff final? You just don't know. But it was a big risk to not play him if they are saving him for the final. If that was an arrogant choice, if that was a reason to do it. But listen, if he's injured, he's injured. If he's fit, he's going to play.
In big games, you have to take your chances. Cardiff City didn't take their chances, and ultimately, that's what it comes down to. Cardiff City have lacked creativity all season unless Lee Tomlin is either on the pitch or playing well.
Yeah.
I do not understand why Lee Tomlin. I asked you this over text yesterday. Why Lee Tomlin is on the bench so much? I know last night he didn't look fit even before he got injured, but all season from Warnock to Harris, he is so often on the bench. He obviously lost a lot of weight in the summer. He got, got himself in the best shape he's ever been. I think he's been in the best form probably for about 3 seasons that he's been. I don't get it at all, particularly when outside of him we haven't really got a great deal of creativity, in open play.
I felt really sorry for him last night, because I've been there when you get injured in big games, because it's so upsetting. So listen, he needed to get in good shape, and he's got himself in good shape. But I think this has gone against him, that he's lost all that weight, and he's probably got in the best shape he can in probably a too short space, and it's probably to the detriment of, because I know he's had a couple of health issues as well this season with illness, so that maybe that's down to losing weight. He's he's been in and out through injury, and but next season, that he knows exactly what he needs to do. He needs to get a good pre-season under his belt. He needs to play week in, week out. He's a standout performer in the league, not Cardiff City's team. He's a standout performer in the division. So, every single team would have Lee Tomlin in their side, 1,000,000%. He scores goals, he creates chances, he's got that killer pass. He sees things what nobody else sees. Some of the things that I've seen this season, the Leeds United game, the pass which set up for Glatzel's equaliser, I think at 4-4. I've never seen anything like it in my life. You know what I mean? So he's an absolute magician of a footballer, and I'm so excited for the future for Cardiff City, but he needs to play. How can he create chances and score goals if he's sat on the bench? I've said all along, it's impossible.
100%, mate. You
It's
can't.
impossible. So, but he also needs to be fit, and I think yesterday he didn't look fit. He didn't look.
Yeah, he didn't.
You know what I mean? He didn't look fit, and I think his injury, it was just a matter of time. But listen, you've got to take a risk because it's a playoff semi-final, and the manager won't regret it. The player won't regret it because it's part and parcel of football. Because you've got to want to play, or you've got to try and play in these big games because they don't come around very often.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Just before we go on to our 2 ups and 2 downs, Richie says in the chat, Nico Williams on loan for Cardiff next year would be good. I agree, that would be an incredible sign-in for Cardiff City. He would just be perfect in pretty much every way. Would you agree with that, mate?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, because I think he's a very, very good player. We spoke about obviously with David Cotterill. I think he's a talented boy. He's obviously getting the best education ever. You know what I mean? Under a manager like that and playing with the kind of player he is. So for me, you know what I mean, the progression is that he probably needs to play regular football. And for me, I think it would be a perfect fit now to go and do it.
Yeah.
Progress on to the Premier League.
Needs to play week in, week out, doesn't he?
I think he needs a full season. He needs a full season, yeah. And for me, that's the only reason. That's the only way of doing it.
Yeah, I think I think he fits the bill for Cardiff City in pretty much every way. He's a very, very good footballer. Look, and Cardiff do need a right back. So, and I think he would play. You know.
Yeah. Oh, well, he has to play. There's no point.
He'd play, and we need pace.
There's no point bringing him in. There's no point bringing him in if he's not going to play.
Okay then, mate. Before we do our little preview of the playoff final to finish off, who would you give your 2 ups, 2 downs to this week? So we'll go with ups first. Who you got?
My ups. I've gone for Neil Harris for his second leg. For his tactic awareness and his going for the game and his substitutions. And just everything about what he tried to push. You know, he got so many things wrong with the first leg, but I have to give him credit for the second leg because I just thought it was game over and he had absolutely no chance. So he gave me a glimmer of hope and gave me an opportunity to eat my words, but at the same time, get me excited for next season.
Yeah, I've got my first up is Ollie Watkins. I think he was just superb for Brentford, finishing, taking those big chances in the big games. He's the man you want after his season, and hopefully Brentford will hold on to him because I think he's been an absolute revelation for someone who was a defender previously to
unbelievable.
Adapt and score as many goals as he has.
He looks very humble as well, you know. He looks really humble guy, and his interviews, he comes across really well. So I really like him.
Not just his goals either, like his all-round play, I think helped. Like he's integral to the way Brentford play as well. Yeah. Who's your second up, mate?
I've gone for similar. So I've gone for the BMW strike force from Brentford. So I've gone Ben Rama, Watkins, and Mbuemo, and I thought they were all three of them against Swansea were absolutely fantastic, and nobody could live with the pace, the trickery, just the threats that they have. You know, I've never came across a front three who play well together week in, week out and cause the problems like they do, and it must be a nightmare for defenders. And Fulham have got it all to do in the second leg in order for them to get through to the Premier League.
Indeed. My second up, I've given to Will Vaulks of Cardiff City. Hasn't always been given that much playing time for Cardiff this year. Sometimes he's been on the bench, but I thought he really turned up in both legs, but particularly the second leg. I thought he was outstanding, and I think one of my frustrations with Neil Harris and Warnock previously is that Cardiff don't build their midfield around him and roles. I think if they can sign a really good young defensive midfield player, and I mean Volk can play in that role as well, and Rolls could.
Yeah.
But I think if you could sign a really good defensive young midfield player, whether on loan or permanently, to sit between those two, with Rolls on the left, Volks on the right, and then play Glatzel with two wingers either side, I think Cardiff City could do some real good stuff.
Totally
Particularly
agree.
if you've got like a Nico Williams at right back, that's looking
Yeah.
tidy, as they say.
Totally agree.
But I thought he was outstanding second leg. And your first down?
My first down, I've gone for the Brentford. I think he's a Brentford captain, Janssen. I thought his mistake in there wasn't much to pick on. You know what I mean? Apart from tactics and things with only the two games. But I thought it was a criminal at best. I thought it was just laughable. But fortunately for him, it didn't matter in the end.
Yeah, so I had Janssen as well. I'm going to go for Swansea City defensively. I don't want to single out Carl Norton again, but I thought defensively they were really sloppy in the second leg.
Yeah.
Could those goals have been stopped? You know, the three in quick succession.
They didn't have to do a lot, side, did they? They didn't have to do a lot to get behind them.
Further up the pitch.
Yeah.
Well, there's lots they could have done. What's your second down, mate?
And my second down was a referee in the first leg of Brentford against Swansea for the red card because, listen, I'm all for referees making a mistake, but go and get some advice. You've got two linesmen, assistant referees. You've got a fourth official. Take advice before you make a decision in a massive, massive game because people say about the playoff final being a £100 million game. That's just as important because that can shape and define your season. And when the EFL or the league or whoever may overturn the decision, makes the referee look a little bit stupid. Rightly so.
And I also I had Fulham's attitude. I didn't think they were at it. I thought they got rattled. And there was, I'd say, at least 2 or 3 players who I thought just looked, not like they can't be bothered, but like they weren't at it. They weren't concentrating. They weren't psyched up. Like you look at the goal which Tomlin scored. Could the boy do better to clear that? Or like is that like a bit sloppy, just letting it sort of hit your knee? And I don't know, in a big game, I'm looking for players to really push and concentrate.
What's the holy grail at the end of it, Si, is a place at Wembley, place in the Premier League. If you can't throw your body and your face in front of a ball, it's listen, there's something wrong.
Spot on, mate. Okay, so very, very quickly, you won the predictions 1-0 because you had I think it was the second leg, Swansea to Brentford to win. So for the final, we're just going to give our score predictions. So playoff final, Brentford versus Fulham. What do you think will be the score?
I think Brentford will win. If I'm going to pick a score, I'd go Brentford to win 2-0.
Okay, I'm going to go Brentford 3-1. And you're going to go Brentford 2-0. Okay, so that's our predictions. For that, leave your predictions in the comments. People, my friends, what do you think the score will be in the playoff final? Who is going to win? Who is going to get to the Premier League? And finally, I just want to say to the person who asked if we're going to bring back the award-winning feature, that is Geordie Bingo Lingo, who asked me the other day, I can safely say that we will. It will be back, but I don't know when.
We'll have a show on it. We'll have a
whole show on Northern culture.
We'll all have. You'll all be talking smoggy by the time you finish.
Smoggy. Right, to finish then, let's announce the Andy Campbell Show Player of the Year results. So we've made our suggestions. Someone really didn't like that I suggested Jude Bellingham, even though I explained why in the show. I wasn't going to explain it again. It wasn't necessarily saying he's been one of the players, like the best players in the league. I explained my reasons, his age, etc., and the way he plays, and you know, everyone's entitled to an opinion. So,
I think that was. I think that's a difficult thing, Si, for me, that people don't like other people's opinion, but the joys of football and the joys of being able to select a group of players who've impressed you, because it doesn't matter if the lad's played 10 games or he's played 46 games. It's about who's impressed you as an individual. You know the amount of players that we could have picked was endless.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, mate. There was loads of players I left out, and I was a bit disappointed to leave them out. Okay, so the candidates were Mitrovic, Pereira of West Brom, Jude Bellingham, Luke Ayling, Matthias Glitch, and Ollie Watkins. So the top 3 were Matthias Pereira. Second was Alexander Mitrovic, and the winner of the Andy Campbell
landslide
Football Championship Show with a massive 70% of the votes was Ollie Watkins. Congratulations to Ollie Watkins. I'm absolutely, it couldn't have happened. Couldn't have been given to anyone else that I'd be more pleased for. I think he's been superb this year.
I was surprised. I was surprised with how little Klich got.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Got, but listen,
No
I think with the amount of goals that Ollie scored and how he entertains, and I said it earlier about how humble he seemed, and I seen his interview the other day, and he just seems like a genuinely excitable young man and can't wait to play at Wembley, by the way. So I'm really excited to see the playoff final, see how he does.
Yeah, is he on Twitter?
I don't know. I've never come across him.
Doesn't seem to be. Which is unfortunate because I was going to send a tweet out congratulating him, but there we go. So yeah, there's your player of the year. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments and stuff. Obviously, as you download it and stuff. My personal choice, by the way, just for anyone, if anyone was confused, I thought that Mateusz Klich was the player of the year in the Championship this year for Leeds. I thought he was absolutely
not Jude Bellingham. Not Jude Bellingham.
No, mate. But I might champion Jude Bellingham as the best player ever now, just to
go on Twitter
reaction.
Go on Twitter, yeah.
Jude Bellingham is the greatest player I have ever seen play football ever. Literally, never seen anyone play football like him. He's a god. But no, I think Ollie Watkins is a good choice. It wasn't my personal choice, but I can absolutely get behind it. Guys, we've gone a little bit over. If you have any questions, you've got 60 seconds to get them in as I plug some stuff. Monday, we have a live Andy Campbell Football Show, 7:30 kickoff with ex-Everton, Cardiff City and Wales captain, BBC pundit, Mr. Kevin Ratcliffe. And I cannot wait to have a chat with Big Kev. What a career. FA Cup winner, youngest
Amazing.
FA Cup winner, youngest FA Cup winning captain at one point. Superb player, Welsh legend. Really looking forward to having a chat about him. With him, about his career, etc. Check out youtube.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Please subscribe because got some great shows coming up. Got a returning conspiracy theory show, which was recorded the other day because people kept nagging me to do it, including Reese, who I do it with. So we'll see how that goes, whether it stays around. But we'll see if people like it. Massive shout out, as usual, to Black Diamond Sports for all the support. Again, global sports agency who represent sports stars from all around the world. And if you've got a young footballer or someone who's looking for an agent, I highly recommend them. They give you the all-round experience. And check out their links in the description below. And also, massive thank you to Bespoke Financial, Darren Ralston, who specialise in life insurance, critical illness, income protection, mortgages and sports cover, for sponsoring the show. I really, really appreciate them. Andy, I appreciate you, mate. Thank you for your time.
Love it, mate. It's been amazing. Loved it. You know what I mean? Obviously disappointed with the outcome this week, but listen, it was always going to be a tough ask. You know what I mean? For me, you said it earlier about Cardiff that they probably overachieved, and like Swansea did a little bit. But for me, the best two sides in the playoffs are going to meet and battle it out to see who goes in the Premier League.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. It's going to be good. Obviously, we'll be talking the playoff final next week. But in the meantime, join us Monday. Check out the new show as well, which will be dropping on Sunday. And we will see you on Monday evening, 7:30 live. The Andy Campbell Football Show, exclusively on Ace Podcast Nation. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in.
My mummy and daddy have been talking about life insurance. It sounds like something to protect my brother and me, but I don't really understand. Then my auntie Louise told mummy about Bespoke Financial Teesside. She said they're a local company who helped her with her life insurance. Mummy got in touch, and because they're based locally, a man called Darren was able to come to our house. He was really friendly. Darren stayed for a cup of tea and made it all really easy to understand. He said that life insurance will protect our home and family if anything bad were to happen. Like if mummy or daddy got sick, then we'd get enough money to take care of us, and our house would be paid for so it wouldn't get taken away. After an hour, Darren said goodbye and Mummy and Daddy seemed a lot happier. Once it was all sorted, we could all relax and watch a film together as a family. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
I belong to you.
I belong to you.
Do just what you want.